November 27th. Please stand, Donald McCants, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Dear holy and almighty God, creator of heaven and earth, in whom we live and have our being, as we enter the Advent season, let us be mindful of your words spoken through the prophet Isaiah. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. Those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. Let us be mindful of our need for the Savior's peace and goodwill towards all. Wherever you see the need, O holy God, create clean hearts and renew them with your spirit. Mobilize your great commandment that beckons us to love you and love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Grant our neighbors, our city and state's neighbors who are voting at the polls today, with the assurance that you did not give them a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. Transform the airways of hate into waves of peace and goodwill. All-powerful God who leads immigrants through deserts and wilderness, grant our nation's neighbors at the border with assurance that no wall can separate us from the Savior's love, whom the angels referred to with glad tidings of peace and goodwill. Bless women, children, and men with substance for living. O God, enable us all, in the words of John Wesley, to do all the good we can, by all the means we can, in all the ways we can, in all the places we can, at all the times we can, to all the people we can, as long as ever we can. Loving God, ruler of hearts, enhance the city of Mobile, beacon of light with expectant waiting and preparation for the light of the world. Grant our city's leadership, first responders, realms of business, schools, hospitals, judicial system, jails and prisons, with hope of salvation, faith in a Savior, joy from the Savior, peace and goodwill towards our neighbors, fellow citizens, and all people. In your holy and eternal name, Christ the Lord, amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Vice President Manzi.
Here.
Councilmember Richardson. Councilmember Small.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Councilmember Daves.
Here.
Councilmember Rich.
Here.
Councilmember Gregor.
Here.
Statement of rules.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What's afternoon?
Well, I guess it's good afternoon. Pardon me.
That was a trick.
Pardon me. I'm programmed.
That was a trick.
I am programmed. I'm on autopilot. But good afternoon. So good to see all of you here. These are the rules of the council. First, we ask that you would turn off or silence all of your electronic devices. Any person desiring to address the council must sign in indicating the resolution, ordinance, appeal, or public hearing agenda item before entering the meeting. When addressing the council, we ask that the speaker clearly state your name and your address. Anyone who'd like to speak on a non-agenda item must contact the city clerk's office no later than 2 p.m. on the Thursday prior to the council meeting in which you like to speak. All subject matters must be pertinent to City of Mobile business. Anyone who has not followed those instructions won't be allowed to address the council. Each speaker is granted 5 minutes. A bell will sound to indicate the end of 4 minutes. 1 minute will remain for summarizing. The second bell indicates that your time has expired. And unfortunately, no matter how well I know you, I'm going to have to enforce these rules. When addressing the council, there should be no personal address to any individual council member. All statements are to be made by the chair, who will recognize any council member who wishes to respond. To maintain decorum, there will be no applause and/or public outcry allowed. Those are our rules. We ask that you would abide by them, and we thank you for your interest in your municipal government. Madam City Clerk.
Approval of minutes of November 20th.
So moved.
Second.
Probably motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved.
Communications from the mayor.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good
It's
afternoon.
good to see everybody this afternoon. It's been a great couple of days for positive announcements for the City of Mobile. Yesterday, we announced the renewal of the extension of the Carnival contract. And during that announcement, we made a couple of, I think, pertinent points. Is that in 2013, 14, and thereabouts, only revenue we had from cruise terminal was occasional party being booked for the cruise terminal. We were losing $2 million a year because of paying the interest on the bonds that to pay for the cruise terminal. So it's just money going out of our general fund, just down a rat hole. Well, once the cruise ship came back, and in this last year, the numbers have shown us that it's been a $6.5 million swing as far as revenue goes. So with the positive revenue, we're still paying approximately $2 million in debt service, about $2.5 million for operating costs that pay the personnel and pay operating costs. But there's a $2 million profit, which is hugely important because that facility, if you look at it over a period of 5 to 10 years, you probably need to be spending about $2 million a year maintaining it. You will not spend $2 every year, but on every 4th or 5th year, you could spend $3 or $4 million. So that is a classic example of how we would like things to be, where they pay for themselves. And that's an aside to what it's doing, providing an amenity for our citizens, providing opportunity for our restaurateurs and the hotels. So great news to re-sign that contract. And yesterday somebody asked me, why won't Carnival sign more than a 1-year contract? I think part of the reason they want is they want to keep the cities where they have ships, they want to keep the city on their toes to make sure that you realize you're competing with other cities, and at any point in time that you don't perform in a satisfactory manner, they could move that ship somewhere else. So you can rest assured that between our guards, our longshoremen who are loading the luggage, the customs officials, everybody that's over there, they get the highest remarks from Carnival for how they're handling their responsibilities. So it was a great opportunity yesterday to announce the renewal of that contract, and with the leadership that we have over there, that we will hopefully be able to announce another renewal this time next year. Not model clothes. You can tell that I don't look like a model, but today I'm modeling a fire rescue jacket. And this fire rescue jacket was given to me by the Mobile Fire Department really a few years ago. And I found just a few occasions to wear it, but today is a very special occasion in recognition for the fire department, and that we this morning were informed by the ISO officials who measure fire departments that we had achieved an ISO rating of 1. We were an ISO city of 3. What that means to the citizens is that you can know, or rest assured, that compared to some very, very stringent guidelines, that the firemen, the fire rescue personnel that are responding to you are among the best trained, the best equipped, and they have the best equipment when they show up. We are one of about 320 fire departments. I think they say 322 or 332. This morning. 332 departments have an ISO 1 rating out of 46,000 fire districts in the United States. That means we're in the top 1/2 of 1% of the best fire departments in the nation. So let's give them a huge round of applause. The other thing is that it doesn't just happen that the fire department was able to do that. It's a real collaborative effort, and most citizens don't realize everybody that's involved in this, but the most points you have to score 90 on this scale to get the rating. Most of the points are allocated toward the water system. So Malls is our biggest partner in achieving an ISO 1 rating. But then there are so many other departments that had something to do with it. It was, whether it's the Human Resources Department, the Personnel Board that are helping in the hiring of the firemen, GIS Department that's helping map everything to make sure that everything is taken care of, the City Council approving the contracts to buy the equipment, improve salaries. So a huge collaborative effort by so many people. But at the end of the day, it really came down to the firemen being inspired to try to shoot for that ISO 1 rating. And a piece of this history that I think is important for everyone to know, Chief Jordan, the Chief of Fire Rescue in Montgomery, sat on the panel when we were doing the selection for the fire chief. And at that time, Montgomery was the largest city in Alabama with an ISO 1 rating. And he challenged all the people who were being interviewed. He challenged every single one of them to set their goals high, to be the very best, because you are here to serve the citizens and give them the very best service available. And with that challenge, you know, Chief Seeley accepted that as the thing that he was going to go after. And so 540 days after he was made the fire chief, he delivered the first goal that he had, and that was to be an ISO 1 city. I would add on to that is not going to be the end of it. We've got to maintain that ISO 1 rating, but also our fire rescue team they want to become even more elite than an ISO 1 designation. They would like to become an accredited fire department, and my understanding is there are only 40 of those in the nation. So my hat's off to the entire fire department and to the leadership, and I wish them, you know, the very best. And my ongoing prayers, and Pastor, I really thank you for your prayers this morning. A lot of it resonated. I hope people were listening, because the words of John Wesley are so important. But I think that as I continue to pray, that God continues to send the people and the resources to this city to make it in the city that He wants it to be. And I feel that we are receiving the answer to some of these blessings. So thank you for your prayers. I have one fireball left from this morning's festivities, if anybody would like to eat a fireball.
Monthly finance report.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, our October results are in, the first month of the fiscal year. Our sales tax revenues were about $21,000 over budget, which is not much. That's less than 1/10 of 1%. We mirrored exactly what the state of Alabama saw statewide in sales tax collections. They were up 0.1%. So far so good. The rest of our taxes were just about where they needed to be, maybe up just a little bit. Total revenues outside of transfers and irregular items were right at budget. So we're hoping that that advances some throughout the year, but happy to see that we didn't go backwards. I want to spend just a moment mentioning something that is going to be a subject of increasing importance as we get towards the regular legislative session in Montgomery. As you heard, when it comes to discussions about the gas tax, all three of our leaders, from Governor Ivey to President Pro Tem of the Senate, Del Marsh, to Speaker of the House, Mac McCutcheon, have said that they support an increase in the gas tax to support infrastructure improvements in the state of Alabama. And so while I'm not sure that how anybody feels about increasing taxes, if taxes are increased, it's the goal of the city, I think, to make sure that the distribution to the city of Mobile is fair. I want Karen Williamson to show each of you a map that our GIS department has produced that shows what the burdens are for the counties and the cities in Mobile County and statewide in terms of how much of road mileage we have to support relative to each other. The 7 darkest counties, darkest blue counties, are those where the proportion of road lane mileage is the highest in the incorporated areas of those counties. So you see where Mobile is. About half of the road lane mileage in the county is inside municipal city limits. The lion's share, of course, of that is within the city of Mobile, but there are large amounts also, especially in the city of Pritchard. So it would stand to reason that then we're talking about taking care of our roads, paving, road replacement, road maintenance, that the city's share ought to be somewhere around what that burden is relative to the total in the counties. When the gas tax was first discussed, the session before last and the last session, the conversation began with the concept of the counties in the state getting 8% of the local distribution and the cities getting 20%. So as you can see, that's a far cry from what our relative burdens are. So as we go forward, we think that the city and our legislative delegation, in the interest of fairness, will come to an agreement on distribution that satisfies the requirements on us to maintain our road lane mileage, and that will be a discussion going forward. You may have seen that Representative Drummond has already had a series of meetings around her district about gas tax and where we should end up during the session if a gas tax is passed by the House and the Senate. We will obviously be engaging with the balance delegation to make sure that our voices are heard. The 7 counties that you see there that have the most at stake are probably going to have an identity of interest in this. But I don't think the cities are going to want more than what their fair share is, but we would like to see our fair share be respected if that legislation goes forward. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. West?
I don't really have a question, but,
Mrs.
and
Reed?
thank you for, this map. It's very informative. If their goal is infrastructure and we have to oversee the contracts, to fix and maintain what's in our corporate limits, that would be the reason for them to make sure that it does come back appropriately to our city as opposed to going generically to the county and then funded backwards. So I'm hoping that they when they write the legislation, they're focused strictly on infrastructure, that they'll know which wing they're under and how they can be maintained and constructed.
Yes, ma'am. It is likely that any gas tax legislation that goes forward, and we don't even have a pre-filed bill yet, would require that it go into roads. and bridges.
Right.
So transportation infrastructure.
Great.
Mr. West, I would recommend that they look at our CIP program, which is equally distributed among all districts, and show that success, and that the reason for success is the equal distribution. And when they believe that, then they'll do the same with the state.
Good point,
All right, now.
Councilman Williams.
And Mr. West, just like I said, I think many times cities get snowed on because the counties have a much more proactive lobby, and they are there in Montgomery a little bit more. And I know, speaking for myself and probably my colleague at the time, we would need to go and lobby on behalf of the city's perspective. If we're informed, we'll be definitely willing to be a partner with the administration to get this message out.
Yes, Vice President Manzi, I think you'll find that we will engage you at the earliest opportunity as this discussion goes forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Probably motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is adopted.
Appeals, we have requests for waive of the noise ordinance on December the 9th on Glen Acres Drive, November 27th and 28th, and December 7th on Dolphin Street.
So moved. Second.
Probably motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Public hearings, today is the public hearing to rezone property at 9616 Church Street from B1 to RB.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak during this particular public hearing? Mr. Schumer, is Mr. Schumer here? Did you want to have anything to say, Mr. Schumer? No, thank you. Okay. If not, the public hearing is closed.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Anna Ray.
Hi, I'm Anna Catherine Ray. I'm here to introduce to you On the Run. Girls on the Run is a physical activity based. Oh, sorry. Oh, wait, what?
Your
Oh,
address.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
ma'am.
64 Hawthorne Place North, 36608. I'm not used to speaking to city
No, that's
council.
okay.
Sorry.
That's great. Just name and address. You're good.
Okay, is that all you need from me now? I'm good, okay. All right, well, let me get back to it. Girls on the Run is a physical activity-based positive youth development program. It's a formal wording for our program, which was established in 1996 in Charlotte, North Carolina, and has grown to over 215 councils across the United States, with over 200,000 girls participating each year nationwide. Our local council, Girls on the Run South Alabama, was established in 2015. We have a nonprofit 501c3 status, and we have served over 345 girls participating in 9 schools across the city, and we service Mobile and Baldwin County, and we have hosted 3 5Ks at Municipal Park during that time. Our projections for next season, based on the schools that are confirmed and the schools that I've spoken to, will include additional 180 girls in each of your districts minus one. I'm confused as the mapping as to where one of them, where George Hall Elementary lies for that. Our program is led through volunteer coaches that are trained with an accredited curriculum, and they lead the teams through our curriculum, which include discussions, and running games. And over the course of the 10-week program, girls develop essential skills to help navigate their worlds and establish a lifetime appreciation for health and fitness. At the end of the program, the girls positively impact their communities through a service project, and they are physically and emotionally prepared to complete a 5K. With all that being said, I hate reading from this, but I have to make sure I hit all the points. The girls are learning an appreciation of themselves, appreciation for others, and how they can help each other and how to give back to their community. A little bit about myself. I was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. I graduated from the University of Alabama with a degree in childhood education. Married my husband, Doug Ray, who was from Mobile, and have called Mobile home for the last 22 years. We have 2 children. Lewis is in 10th grade and Julie is in 7th grade at St. Paul's. I've owned a freelance interior design and construction consultancy for the last 12 years. I was introduced to Girls in the Run when they established the program at St. Paul's, and my daughter participated in it. And after seeing what it did for her and for what it did for our family, I've scaled back my design business and have taken over the building of our council on a volunteer basis. And so for those 3 years, I've worked as a volunteer. We have 5 board members, and we have raised funds. I jumped into the fundraising world not knowing anything about it or nonprofit. I have a gift tab. I have friends around the community living here this long, but we need help in establishing the council. So I waited. We had a strategic growth plan with our council. We started at St. Paul's because one of the founding members is the youth pastor's wife, and we knew that we had the parental support, and by parental support we knew that we had the parents there, and the administrative support because they actually were willing to host the program, and we had the financial support. Our program is fee-based, but nationally we offer 50% scholarship rate nationally. Our goal is 30%. So we've been strategic in each school that we've, is that my 1 minute warning? So getting back to Mobile, I see where Mobile is going. I believe in the growth of our city and programs like this that need to be established, which is why I've scaled back my design business. I was involved in the focus group for the Aspen Institute Sports and Society research program that just was developed, and if you notice on page 20, we're mentioned there, that we're lacking programs for girls. In this world today, girls need these self-confidence building programs, and I need your help. I need your help for each of the schools. I have 3 Title I schools that are asking to host the program. It costs us $300 per girl to run the program. I have to raise all that $300. I have to raise $140 for the girls that actually do pay the fee. So I need your help, and also gathering volunteers. These are volunteer coaches. So in schools that don't have the parental support, we get members from the community to volunteer here. And then I need your help going to the corporations around town. That's my biggest thing is the keeper, and them understanding that we're here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. We might have some questions. 1 second. Mr. Richardson.
Yes, sir. Mr. Ricky, can you tell us what schools this program is already active in?
Yes. So I obviously mentioned St. Paul's. St. Ignatius was our 2nd school. Anna Booth Elementary was our 3rd school. We've offered a Title I school each season. St. Mary's, which is 50% scholarship. Over the Bay is Bayside, Christ the King, and Fair Up Intermediate. We have George Hall, Little Flower established for the spring. E.R. Dixon, that's where parental support comes in, was signed up, but they didn't have after-school care. So the 30 minutes in between 4:45 and 5:15 when the after-school care program was running, they didn't have anybody to take care of them. They wouldn't take them with the after-school program. So we have the schools established. The program set up, the volunteer coaches, everybody trained, and we can't the girls because they have nowhere to go between the 4:45 and the 5:15. So these are the hurdles that we're finding within the public school system. Forgot another one in Mobile. Corpus Christi?
Well, the reason I ask you that because I was hoping that would name at least one school at District 1.
Well, is St. Mary not in your district?
No.
It's Pritchard Prep. No, it's Pritchard.
No.
You have to forgive me. I'm a team of one, and so I do my best to do my research, but it's hard for me learning this from the ground up. If it's not in your district, it's not because we haven't reached out to them. It is up to the school to host the program. Oh, Mary B. Alston, finally, yay, Alston's going to join in for the spring. But if your school,
But you keep going on around, you're hitting at it, but you're not hitting
You tell me the schools and I'll tell you. Name me a school. I really need help.
J.L. LaFleur.
Is that an elementary or intermediate? It's 3rd through 8th grade. Okay.
High school.
High school. I said LaFleur.
It's J.L.
You have to. So this is. I'm sorry, I forget to mention.
Washington Middle School.
Is that 3rd through 8th? No.
Yeah, it's middle school.
It is not for lack of trying. And that's why I'm here, is for you to help me get to your schools.
Fournier Chastain Middle School.
Help me get to
Scarborough Middle School.
Help me break the firewall on the emails that I have to send
you-
over and over and over. I can't just show up at the school.
But you let me know what I need to do, because the next time you come down here, I want you to call some more schools out.
So I would love to call more schools out, and I will email you again and ask for your help. And I need help through the firewall. I need people to answer me, because again, I can't knock on their door. I can't go in that school without being approved.
You're not going to do none of that.
And then I need the funding to help them.
We're not going to get no funding for the folks you can't help. You got to help. You email me and let me know what you need and get you going.
Okay, awesome. Anybody else?
Yes, Ms. Ray, thank you for bringing this to our attention.
Thank you.
It's fascinating, and you're right about girls needing these kind of programs, and thank you for working towards that. Have you approached the school board for opening doors for you? Because
So we have through emails and through phone calls, and
they have
again,
meetings, public meetings too. So as a suggestion, that might be a wonderful opportunity to reach all of the school board members at one time
So I will
about your
note that,
program.
yeah.
And I would recommend also written literature to leave. And
So we have that.
I mean, I've got your contact number, so I can find you, but
Okay.
I don't know how their agendas are set up. But I
Right.
know they're public meetings and people speak on topics, so
Okay.
that would be something that would be probably very good if you're trying to break into the schools, because they can be the ones.
and we've
to
had
open the
conversations, it just then goes beyond, that
Right.
is the hard.
And the funding part of it.
Right. I'm not so much worried about the funding as if I get my foot in the door, like I have those Title I schools signed up, I will find it from there. I will pinpoint, but I need help.
Right.
Because I am one person, there's only so many hours a day, and I'm a mother, and this is for free. I mean, that is the thing. So I just need the help.
Yeah. And it's a good thing, so I'll be giving you a call.
Okay, thank
right.
you.
With you.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
Yes, sir.
You see that lady sitting right up here?
Which one?
Right,
Yes,
raise
ma'am.
your hand.
Hi.
That's your foot in the door.
Okay,
In
thank
fact,
you.
that is the door.
Okay. Oh, yes, great,
Okay.
thank you. Okay, thank you.
I just want to offer this piece of advice,
Okay.
because you want to get into the school system, and that's 5 years there. So I know most of the people that are there at this point. I would call and make an appointment with the superintendent, Mr. Kressel.
Right, and he's
Threadgill.
new, correct?
I would make an
Yes.
appointment, and he can have his communications office send a letter to every school in the district, letting them know that you are pre-approved
You're on the
to
road.
come in and talk with them about this program.
Okay,
And I believe that would, because that's what a lot of the principals are gonna want. They probably won't respond until they get some clearance from the superintendent's office that it's okay.
well, once they realize that we're real, and that's another thing, 3 years in, and that we're here to stay, and how successful we've been in our schools, but that is a good point, and he's new, because we were in contact with the previous, so,
And you named several schools that are in District 2. So if you could reach out to my office and let us make an appointment and just see how we
Great.
might could partner with us with
okay,
some finances.
perfect, thank you,
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate it. Anybody else?
I think they'll do it.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Wesley Young.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Wesley Young. I reside at 3058 Jane Street, Mobile, Alabama. I'm here today to address the 5% raise, across the board raise that was given by this council through the budget process, which the employees of public service have not received as of today. My question to the council is very simple. What happened to the 5% raise that you all asked with a 6-0 vote? We need to know, because nobody is able to tell us anything. Do anybody on the council can tell me today what happened to that 5% raise? So nobody knows. Well, I'll move forward. When the police and firefighters received a $10,000 bonus and a 5% raise, they received it based on longevity pay. They received it based on merit pay. Now, everything has changed. We're dealing with incentive pay. Let me tell you all about incentive pay, what it does. If I like you, you'll get a raise. If I don't care about you, you won't receive a raise. What's on the table is a 2.5% raise to the straightened employees in public works. The insurance is increasing $10 more a month. You do the math with a 2.5% raise, with the insurance increasing 10% a month. You're giving it to them on one hand and you're taking it with another. We are treating employees in this city totally different than I've ever seen since 1985. I've never seen any mayor take one program and use it for a group of employees and do another program for another group of employees. It is wrong and it's not right. Let me explain. I've tried to stay on above this level, a high level, if I could. But I'm at the point now where it don't matter to me anymore because I see what's taking place in our city. When you look at public service, you're looking at 95% of African Americans. That's what you're looking at. They have been ill-equipped, they don't have the personnel, and it's been going on for 3 to 4 years. They are working 7 days a week, every single day. They are behind on trash straightening times. They're doing their job. If there's anyone deserves incentive pay or merit pay, it's the people of Mobile Public Service. Their job is just as important as the employees in this city. And until we get to that point and get on that level and understand that, then we'll stop taking people and talking about, okay, we're going to create one Mobile. How can you create one Mobile when treating half Mobile one way and the other half the other? It's about color. I said and I'll say it again. I tried to stay away from it. You all know what it's about. Now, this council has authority to do something about this under the Zogby Act. It only takes 5 of you all. It's a legal matter. Go into court and demand that this 5% raise be given to these employees. I watched you last week as you got ready to hire your director back, communication director, under going into court. But you did it anyway, you voted for it. You take that same passion that you used last week and you use this week and make sure these employees get this 5% raise. They deserve it. They are employees and they are citizens of Mobile and we need to act like it. I would not stop coming down here until these employees are treated like all other employees. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Woods.
So as far as it's been a legal matter, I do want to explain something to the council and the general public. Number one, we've already been to court over this exact same issue of when the mayor gives a raise. It's squarely within his authority under the law, Alabama state law. It's in the Zogby Act. It's subsection 9 of 1144C37. So salaries and compensation of employees appointed by the mayor is squarely within the executive's authority. The council authorized, but there's also a distinction there. If you all remember, the timeline is this mayor was sued back in 2014 by Mr. Young and the Public Works group to enforce raise, and they lost. And the reason they lost is because of the subsection I just told you about. Secondarily, the incentive plan has been put in place, and that incentive plan uses the exact same $896,000 that was in the budget, and you all added $104 to make $1 million. So it's the same line item, and that's what we're dealing with here. So it is a matter of legality. But here's the distinction when we're talking about employees. Every person that falls in Mobile Fire Department is in a certain merit designation. They're a firefighter. So you can give an across-the-board raise there. Every person that falls in MPD falls squarely within designation. They're MPD or civilian. However, all of the other departments don't fall in those designations. So say, for instance, an operator 2 and operator 3 and equipment they're across the board. They're not just in public works. So you can't just designate this is an across-the-board raise for public works without going outside of public works. I think that's probably something that escaped most folks. But back to my question, back to the question that was asked, as far as the legality of this, and I think you, Mr. Chairman, specifically said this is up to the mayor. You authorized an additional 104 after the 896 had already been put in the budget for incentive pay. And of course, that's squarely within the power of the council, but compensation, raises to appointees of the mayor is squarely within the executive's authority, and that's up to the mayor. And the mayor's made a decision to put in Mr. Peavy's incentive pay to move forward.
Madam Council Attorney, did you have anything that you would like to add to that commentary?
Well, I find the comments interesting and intriguing, and I would really appreciate it if the city attorney could provide a legal opinion to the council addressing the items that he just said out loud. That would be most welcome.
What I'll do is I'll forward the actual order from the judge who cited the same authority for the administration when we argued this case back in 2014. That should be able to suffice.
Well, I think the primary question is the incentive plan is not in the budget. It was supplanted by amendment number 7 for the city council. So if you've got some legal authority on that, would be most welcome.
Well, here's what I want everybody to remember, Mr. Chairman. I want everybody to remember what happened. If you look back at your amendments and it's in writing, what happened is there was $896,000 in that line item. What you all did lawfully was add an additional 104 for that. You added to that line item and called it $1 million. You didn't take away from anything else. What you did was you add to that line item. You can go back and look at your minutes. I don't have to write a legal opinion about that. But I can also send you that case. So you can look at the amendments just for yourself, see that. It's in black and white.
Well, Mr. Woods, I think it's clear, not only to the 6 of us who voted, but also to the general public, that the intention of this council was to move toward a 5% raise. And raises are something that we are not, we hadn't been averse to in the past. The administration and this council has worked hard to make certain that those who are first responders got their raises, got their longevity bonuses and all of that, whatever it was that was put on the table relative to those departments, we wholeheartedly support, and we'll continue to support. We just make certain that. But I also am in favor, and I believe the majority, at least 6 of us, were intention on a 5% raise for those individuals who work in these departments. And they're steadily having to come down here asking concerning the raise. I know I'm not against the incentive. I'm for the incentive in addition to what we're trying to do with the raise, because the gentlemen and ladies who work in those departments deserve that. I'm not against the incentive, but it shouldn't be an either or proposition. And they're steady coming down here wondering when and where these raises take place. And not only them, other entities that were impacted by our budget are calling now saying, we have not received this, we have not received that, in a manner in which we traditionally would have received it. And so I'm hoping it's clear how hard these gentlemen and these ladies work. When they don't work, we feel it, we hear it, we get the calls. And we knew we could not do all that they wanted, but at least 5% was a good start. And I'm against the 5% and the incentive if that's something actually we're able to handle. But what is the intention? What is the timeline? I guess what they want to know and what we want to know is how will you move forward with what you're proposing? How is that going to move forward?
So the incentive pay is already being implemented. That's already being pushed forward.
You need to ask the mayor.
You understand?
Well, I understand that, but I also understand that none of the intricate details as relates to this incentive plan have ever really been formally brought before this council, mentioned to this council. We hear bits and pieces about this one will get so much for a CDL license, this one will get so much for not messing up equipment. All of that is good, and let me just say I'm not being negative on the incentive, but I also know it was our intention and our the goal was for everybody in that department to receive something by way of a salary increase that'll go toward their retirement.
Understanding
They're
that.
already some of the lowest paid people under our employ. So it's, 5% I don't think was unrealistic. That was really the intention, and I really wish that that's the direction that we would be able to go in. Our attorney is providing us some information relative to some thoughts she has as to how we can move forward, but we should not have to end up that way when I believe all of us want to see them with better salaries.
Let me explain it this way. The wishes and intent of the council with respect to fixing salaries and compensation, that's well and good. You can authorize it, but that doesn't mandate it. That is strictly within the power of the mayor of the executive branch. Zogby specifically states, subsection 9, and let me read it for the record. Fix the salaries and compensation of all officers and employees in the city who are appointed by the mayor, subject, however, to the provisions of any merit law applicable to the city. That is a mayoral power. It's in subsection 37 of Zogby, and that's for the executive branch. The council doesn't get to make that decision.
Mr. Woods, with no disrespect, I understand all of that.
Okay.
I get all that. Mrs. Cochran, do you have something to say relative to what Mr. Woods is saying? Because I'm hearing two different interpretations of the law. And absent me having a reason not to, I'm going to go with the lady who I'm paying. I'm paying Wanda Cochran. And Wanda has a different, now if you don't have a different interpretation, please let me know that. But if you do have one, I think it's time for us to get on the same page. And this isn't us being adversarial, it's us trying to figure out where and what are we, how do we move forward with this issue, so that these employees, retirees, don't have to keep coming down here Tuesday after Tuesday, harping on a 5% raise that 6 of us authorized in the budget. We got a little stalemate here, and we need some understanding, I think, on both sides. Madam Council Attorney.
So the statute you read, you didn't read all of it. There's a sentence at the end of the provision, if I'm not mistaken, that says that the mayor's power is exercised subject to any merit law applicable to the city. So when you look at the authority and power of who's going to get a raise and how that's done, certainly the mayor is the appointing authority and he has a very important role to play. But there's another player here, and it's the Mobile County Personnel Board. There was a case out of Birmingham a few years ago, Kincaid, I believe that was Mayor Kincaid, and there was a similar issue. The council wanted to give employees a raise, the mayor didn't. The language of the statutes are nearly identical, and the Alabama Supreme Court ruled that the council's resolution granting the raise trumped the mayor's power in their local act. Now, we haven't discussed this before now, and that's why if you could give me the case, your analysis, because I think the larger question here is not who's on the law, but how do you work together to get the raise that everybody so desperately wants for the public works personnel. You submitted a proposed incentive plan to the Personnel Board on September 18th or so. A few days later, I think 5 days later, they approved it. Then on the 25th, the council adopted a budget, and the budget clearly disapproved the incentive pay. It was not a line item. So, you know, it seems to me that the council has clearly expressed their budgeting authority to disapprove the incentive pay. So rather than argue about it, how can we come together to make that happen? I guess that's the question.
That's going to be my next move, Mr. Williams. If Councilor Cochran or Councilor Woods could get together and just keep us apprised of where you are. At the end of the day, I think it's clear, whether it's incentive or through this general raise, that all of us want to see better conditions financially, those who work in our public services department. And we're going to find a way to make that happen. I'm in favor of the raise. I'm in favor of the incentive too. You just got to find it to do it all. And I know that's a big stretch, but if the two lawyers could get together and please keep us apprised of where you all find yourselves so that we can move forward progressively on this issue. Mr. Richardson.
Mr. Chairman, I just would like to say that the incentive raise pits employees against each other. You know, I'm giving it to Johnny, but I ain't giving it to James and Mary. They won't get it either. This is what it's going to do. I don't know of no time that we've said whatever fireman put out the most fire will get the money. And the fireman who can't get to the fire won't get none. Whatever police officers arrest more people will get the money. But if you don't have a record arresting anybody, you're not going to get anything. But when it comes down here to these, the least among us in the city of Mobile, we got a whole new standard for them. We're going to give them a incentive raise that if you work real hard, you can really get this. But if you don't work as hard as him or whoever, you won't get it. We're not doing no other category of employees like that. None like that. And I don't think nobody has the right to circumvent the action of the council. According to the Zachary Act, the rule and authority for the city of Mobile is the Mobile City Council. The council said you got the raise. As far as I'm concerned, you got it.
Mrs. Rich.
Thank you. The case that you're referencing that was challenged when the 2% raise was in a budget that Mayor Stims inherited for allocating. I got the impression at that time that the funding was known, the source of the funding. There was a lot of mystery to were there money available, and that's why it was pulled back. I mean, the council, I had those concerns when I was on the council approving that budget before your administration took over. But the cases are not the same unless there is a monetary issue of doing a 5% as opposed to an incentive. But I'm hearing from you that we put in the additional money that would allocate a 5% to the proper personnel.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. Two things. One, you're correct on the fact that the pullback of the first raise was because of the lack of funding.
Correct.
But the ruling that I'm talking about is on point on all fours with this very same issue. That the mayor is the appointing authority, and I did read that last section subject to the merit system, which is why I submitted the incentive plan to the actual personnel board. So, two things. One, you're correct about why the pullback occurred, but the law is on all fours with this case that we argued successfully against the Public Works Union in 2014, dealing with the mayor's authority to be able to put incentives or compensation in place. It's compensation and salaries.
But you had a tangible reason for holding back the raise that had been allocated via the council at the time. And it was based on fact that there were unknowns within the budget, and this new administration needed to see everything.
Well, that was right. That was the factual basis, but the legal basis is the same. It's still the mayor's authority.
Well, that's where we'll leave it with both councils dealing with this, because I feel that the was very clear on a 5% and trying even to find the additional money that pulled that together so that the budget was left in place, and that with funding, unless the mayor thinks there's not proper funding to do the 5%, which would win you the case if Mr. Wesley challenged. But I'm hoping that you will all work it out. It's really important.
Sure, and it's just so everybody acknowledges, you know, the facts. And that there was $896,000 already allocated for a certain amount, and 104 got added. And so, as soon as we're able to sit down and talk about it, we'll be able to give you a clearer picture of why things are going that way.
Yes, sir.
Let it be clear that the council voted down what the mayor planned. You keep talking about what the mayor put in there. We voted that down. We took that money and add more money to it and gave them a 5% raise. We voted that down. What you're saying is not down. You thought it was down. We done picked it up. I'm saying you can't pick up what we vote down. That's what you're trying to say. The council considered what you did and what you proposed. Only the council can budget the mayor's budget. He can plan. We voted the plan down. We put another plan in place. You done put that down and picked up your plan again. You can't circumvent the council.
Again, this is a serious matter.
They got to do it.
Very serious.
This is a serious matter, ladies and gentlemen, and it's going to take us working together to get over where we need to be. Ms. Cochran, if you and Mr. Woods could sit down and argue you all's legal points, because we're hearing divergence of opinion, and I know I just want the 5% raise. It's our intention to have a 5% raise. If there's a way to do it, I'm all for it, and I'm hopeful y'all will be able to meet soon.
Can she put her opinion in writing to him? And if he differ from you, let him put no more gossip. Put it in writing.
Or let them both meet in the middle.
Let us have a discussion.
Right.
And see if we can't find a way through, a way forward.
Sounds like please keep our officers apprised. Thank you.
We need to know that that he is speaking for the mayor, because you got the chief of staff sitting over there, you got the mayor sitting over there, and then you got the attorney speaking. When you negotiate, you need to negotiate with somebody that can negotiate, that's speaking for the mayor. You speaking for us.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam City Clerk.
Mr. Herb Wagner has signed for two separate agenda items, 09814, which is this capital project, the sidewalks, and also for 64032, the rezoning to I-2.
Good afternoon, Herb Wagner, 732 Jemison Street, 36606, District 5. I do have a question. In whose district is Mertz School?
Not mine.
I think it's got to be Mr. Small.
Is it on Government?
Yes, yeah, just on Pleasant Valley.
In Pleasant
on the
Valley,
other
yeah,
side.
cross.
I've been working with Mr. Daves, or talking to Mr. Daves, Councilman Daves, for several years about the students that go to Mertz Elementary School. And they walk on a very narrow street. They walk on Pleasant Valley and Fairways Drive. There are no sidewalks. And I was driving one day down Pleasant Valley. It was sort of foggy, and it was drizzling, and of course dark in the morning. And these children are walking in these streets. It's just extremely dangerous. And I've brought this up to Mr. Daves, and probably have neglected, since a lot of these children are in your district as well, Mr. Small, to find some funding. And Mr. Daves has brought up that this will also be a drainage issue, but and that it will, instead of being hundreds of thousands, it will be millions. So, but it's just very difficult for me to accept that we can't find a way to to get these children safely to school. I'm just amazed, really, frankly, that incidents haven't happened. And that's why actually I'm opposed to moving $27,000 for this Fit and Spur project. When in my area around Mert School, I don't think within a mile there's anything that has been taken care of with the penny or capital funds outside of a railing over a Hosmill Bridge. The second issue, and I think in pre-council maybe I got the impression that that we're going to find a different solution of the I-2 rezoning for Kendall Clark, was it? The split zoning issue without knowing what, I mean, I'm always opposed to any rezoning to industrial without a specific understanding of what exactly is going to be done. And I think for Mr. Manzi that we're going to vote that down, and I hope that's the case. I just remember one time coming here when 40 acres on Rabbit Creek was being zoned I-2 with only 8 of the 40 acres known what was going to happen, and 10 of those acres in a flood zone in a non-navigable part of Rabbit Creek. And, I don't want to live in an industrial city, and it seems to me that we're pushing more and more trying to be industrial. And frankly, growing up, we talked about the Rust Belt, we talked about polluted rivers and skies, and it seems like maybe our complaints were more envy than anything else, because, I can move back to Mobile and see people say, oh, there's going to be another Houston. Tennessee Thomas, you want to live in Houston, it's there. I want to live in Mobile. I go to Frankfurt, which used to be industrial along the Main River. Now we have miles of bike paths along. They've moved industry away from the city. And that's all we have been saying from the beginning, is that, there's a place for the chickens, and it isn't in the living room. And we just need to be thinking about the air quality. And we say the air quality is good here, and I think I'm off point, and I apologize. But it isn't really that good. The measurements are way away from Mobile County. Getting back to the two things I said, again, I'm concerned about these students, and I think maybe if we talk to the principal at Mertz to find a safe passage, maybe just talk, really it's just 2 blocks of sidewalks because they can go through the neighborhood, and then just never, ever approve an I-2 without specifically knowing what's going to be done. Thank you so much, and stand tall. Really appreciate you standing up for the public service workers and fighting for them. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you.
President.
Mr. Small?
I'd like to thank Ms. Whiting for coming down and addressing those issues about Pleasant Valley Road. I have written in the past about SALS to the administration about, and it's been in very past about this along Pleasant Valley Road. Pleasant Valley Road is split between 2 districts, District 3 and also District 5. District 3 inherit Pleasant Valley Road when the last time, there was the area was changed. It used to be District 4. Since I've been, since District 3 had inherited Pleasant Valley Road, half of it anyway, that's what has been a main concern about sidewalks, and that's one of the first things I had wrote in the past about sidewalks. As a matter of fact, I talked to Councilman Days some months ago, probably about 6 months ago, about sidewalks on Pleasant Valley Road, because there isn't, any at all. That would have to be a joint project between us 3, because again, Councilman Days split. That's where District 3 and 5 splits that. He has one side, and I have the other side. So I will address this issue again, and I probably will send another letter to administration about some type of TAP grant or unit block developer grant money or anything that will help to go forth with this project. There is going to be a multi-million-dollar project because of the drainage issues that those ditches going to have to be closed, because there are ditches up and down Pleasant Valley Road on both sides. And then once those ditches are closed, then you got to come back with sidewalks. So that is a multi-million-dollar project. District 3 just got hit with Ann Street, and now we're trying to get hit with Baltimore Street. But again, I will address those concerns with the administration again by writing a letter this week about, some assistance along Pleasant Valley Road with sidewalks and et cetera. But the statement that you have made about the 1 cent sales tax penny, the extra penny, that's a very false statement, at least in District 3 side. The first thing that District 3 received in that particular area of the 1 cent sales tax penny was Matrix Park. Put a lot of money into Matrix Park with those fields, so that's a very, very false statement that you made, and it's less than a mile from Pleasant Valley Road. Also, we're paving around Satchel Page, and also this coming in 2019 CIP projects, there are a lot of drainage projects that are going to be in that particular area. That particular area has a lot of drainage issues. So a lot of the money you cannot see with your visible eyes, but many residents can tell you about the drainage that they have in on a particular property that's coming from city issues that have been tapped by the 1 cent sales tax. But again, that statement there is very false. Thank you.
Mr. Davis.
Thank you. I appreciate Mr. Wagner coming down here. He's a good citizen of District 5. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't, but I'm always happy to have Mr. Wagner come down here and share his opinion with us. As I mentioned to Mr. Wagner when we spoke about it subsequent to pre-council, and as Councilman Small has indicated, this particular section of road on Pleasant Valley Road between Government Boulevard and Holcomb Avenue is a difficult piece of road in which to put a sidewalk because the drainage ditches, it has drainage ditches on either side of it. And there's not sufficient right-of-way between the drainage ditch and the road to put a sidewalk in. You wouldn't want the kids walking on a sidewalk right next to the road anyway. So the only way you put a sidewalk down is to fix the drainage, and now you've changed a sidewalk project into a drainage plus sidewalk project, which multiplies the cost by 10 or 20 times per foot. So, there are certain ways to move forward. I suggested to Mr. Wagner that he look into that. Well, first of all, to go back to the Bit and Spur project, which kind of kicked this off. That project is almost completely paid through a TAP grant, which is a State of Alabama Transportation Alternative Program, along with a match provided by the money raised by the Village of Spring Hill. We had a little shortfall, so there is some money. Some city money in there, about $50,000 out of a $250,000 project. But I suggested to Mr. Wagner that he look into the possibility of a TAP grant. And again, I'd be, interested, of course, in talking to Councilman Small about what can be done in that section of the road. Also, because in addition to not having the sidewalks, we also drainage complaints from time to time from the folks who live down there on there. So, we live in a city of limited resources, and so constantly you're trying to figure out how to best spend the capital improvement dollars that you have. And I have through the capital improvement plan been able to install sidewalks on Michael Boulevard from Azalea Road down to Davidson School Drive and along the portions of Davidson School Drive where there were no sidewalks, and along Pleasant Valley Road between Davidson School Drive and Azalea Road where there were no sidewalks, and partially along Azalea Road where there were no sidewalks. For the numbers of children that live in and around that area in the apartments on the northeast corner of Michael Boulevard and Azalea Road, then the residential areas across on the west side of Azalea Road. There are a lot of children that go to school at Davidson and Denton, and so we've been able to put some sidewalks there, but we've been able to lay sidewalks where we had to address the drainage issues. And so if I've got an area where I got kids walking to school and I can spend $100,000 on a mile of sidewalks versus $2 million on a mile of sidewalks in some other place, with where we are now, it's projects like the Michael Boulevard that are going to get the money. But I'm more than willing, again, to work with Councilman Small to see if there's something that can be done, and I urge Mr. Wagner to work with us and work with the city to see if there might be some TAP grants available or some other kind of funding available. Because I agree, it's a problem.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Any further? If not, Madam City Clerk.
Ordinance is held over. 64032, rezone property at the northeast corner of Paper Mill Road and Africatown Boulevard from B2, R2, and I2 to I2.
So moved.
Second.
Been proper motion and second. Any discussion? Colleagues, absent having a definitive plan for where we're going to be going as it relates to this piece of property, I haven't heard no additional commentary from Kimberly Clark or any of Kimberly Clark agents, or having heard any really logical reason as to why we would move forward without knowing exactly what that plan is. I'm going to ask that we would, that you would join me in not approving this rezoning. So it's been properly motioned and second. We've had any further discussion? All in favor, let me know by aye. Those in opposition?
No.
Opposed? The rezoning is denied.
Resolutions is held over. 09814 and 815 are reallocating monies from capital projects to business spur sidewalks.
So moved.
21.
You want to take these two? Or?
We can take them all.
Please.
21816, authorized contract with TAG for Mobile, Alabama Cruise Terminal Construction Management Services. 21817, authorized contract with Watkins AC Strunk Design for Memorial Park implementation and phasing plan and phase 1 improvements.
So moved.
Second.
Proper motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Items passed.
Ordinance is being introduced for the first time. 64033.
By council rules, this ordinance will be over for 1 week.
Consent resolutions being introduced for the first time. 21827 through 6826.
Motion to suspend the rules for immediate consideration of said resolutions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Properly suspended.
20. Do we want to take any of these separately?
I'd like to take them separately, at least the first one separately, please.
Okay. 21827, adhere to resolution 21792, notwithstanding the objections of the mayor.
So move.
Second.
Properly motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Item passes 6-1.
37819 and 37820, recommending approval, and 37821 are recommending approval to the C Board for issuance of a retail beer table wine off premises only license for Shell Mary Mart on Rangeline Road, for issuance of a retail beer on off premises license for Polk Luau on Airport Boulevard, and for recommending issuance of a manufacturer license for Old Majestic Brewing Company on St. Louis Street, 58822, assess cost for removal of weeds, repeat Weedling Group, 216823, approve award a special bonus to the firefighter of the month as part of the mayor's incentive program, Alton Miller. 6826, determine expenditure of discretionary funds for contribution to the Hillsdale Heights Homeowners Association serves a public purpose and approve payment.
So moved.
Second.
Properly motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Items passed.
Resolutions being introduced for the first time. 01825 through 21824.
Motion to suspend rules for immediate consideration 01825 and 824 will lay over for 1 week.
Second.
Properly motion and second. Any discussion? If not, All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
01825, authorize addendum number 2 to Resolution 01602, 2015, cruise terminal and berthing agreement with Carnival Cruise Line.
So moved.
Second.
Properly motion and second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Item passes.
Announcements.
Mrs. Gregory?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This weekend on Sunday, annual Christmas on the Hill. It's from 1 until 5. This is a time when local merchants will open their doors for people to come in and shop, get their Christmas shopping done. And it's also a great way to stay local. As you know, most of these shops are mom and pops, been here for a number of years, so it's a great way to patronize those. Again, it's from 1 until 5 in Spring Hill. We also have Santa Claus and carriage rides, and most of the merchants will also have refreshments. So a great way to come out and enjoy, hopefully, some good sunshine and weather and get your Christmas shopping done a little early. Speaking of Christmas, December 10th will be my annual Christmas meeting at the Mobile Museum of Art. We begin at 6 o'clock. We will again recognize our first responders. I am inviting our newly elected legislators who represent my district. As some of you all know, I have 2 senators and 2 representatives who overlap in District 7, so I've invited them to come and be a part of the meeting and the holiday cheer. And as always, we will collect gifts for the children of Wilmer Hall. So again, that is December 10th at 6 o'clock, Mobile Museum of Art, and those cards will be hitting mailboxes very soon so that everyone can plan ahead. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all from District 7.
Thank you. Mrs. Gregory? Mrs. Rich?
Thank you very, very much. Just like to again announce the District 6 community meeting, which is this Thursday, the 29th at 6:30. It'll involve public safety, and we hope to have our public safety director, perhaps our chief or commanders of the 2 precincts that overlap into District 6, along with our urban forester to talk about the Grelot Road median improvements. Right now we have dirt piles out there for the most part, and there is a plan in place, and I will explain that, and also the plans will be unveiled, and we're working with the Alabama Urban Forestry Association. They've been instrumental in helping my office with this initiative. And also Commissioner Hudson and people with the Clean Up or Love Your Community Cleanup campaign. I have sent out I normally send out postcards about district meetings, but this time I decided to do robocalls. I hate to bother people with that, but it was a cost savings, and I'm going to see how that works. But you should get a phone call if you're in the district. And again, this is this Thursday at the Connie Hudson Senior Center at 6:30. And then on December 7th, there'll be the breakfast out at the Senior Center at 8:30 a.m. So please come out and join that. That's also put on by the district, and I hope everyone who utilizes the center will come a few minutes early and do breakfast and play Christmas games and holiday games. Again, Friday, December 7th, 8:30. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rich. Mr. Daves?
No announcements.
Mr. Richardson?
There's a meeting upstairs at 2:30.
Okay.
Excellent announcement. Thank you so much.
All right. Mr. Small?
Parks. Thank you, Vice President Manzi. Just a reminder to the citizens of District 3 that on December the 10th is our annual holiday Christmas celebration, which is going to be held at the Maryville Elementary School on Dolphin Island Parkway, inviting all the citizens of District 3 to come out for this great holiday celebration that we're planning on having at 6 o'clock p.m. on the 10th of December. We have several schools that's coming out and perform for the district, Craighead Elementary School, BC Rain High School, Gilliard Elementary School, and Pillins Middle School. They are working very hard to put on a great night for us. Again, we're inviting all the citizens in District 3 to come out for great food, fun, and fellowship. And we also are asking the district to bring non-perishable items for the elderly that do not have people and family for the holidays. This is probably our fifth year doing this, where we collect non-perishable items, and we find residents throughout the district and around different nursing homes throughout the city, and we have helped them to have a very happy Merry Christmas. Also, don't forget, on December the 15th, which is a Saturday at 2:00 p.m., the Parades of Threes is rolling down Dolphin Island Parkway again this year, inviting all the citizens in Mobile to come on out. Last year, we had 17,000 spectators along this route, and we're expecting to have a parade on this year. This parade is put on by Representative Barbara Drummond, House 103, and of course myself, District C.J. Small, again inviting all the citizens in Mobile to come out on December 15th, 2018 at 2:00 p.m. the south end of DIP. Come out and let's enjoy Christmas together. Thank you, Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. Small. Mr. Williams.
Very much. Speaking of parades, Tillman's Corner annual holiday Christmas parade is going to be this weekend on Saturday morning at 10:30. It is a fantastic parade, and if you want a front row, you may want to go to District 3 because the front rows will all be taken up in District 4. People annually line up the night before to get their place at this great parade. While we may be led that there's some new idea about holidays in districts, one of the most attended and greatest parades ever in District 4 this Saturday at 10:30. Also, as we approach these holidays, respect to all faiths, I wish all those of Jewish faith that will begin their Hanukkah this weekend, or is it May, somewhere around there?
First,
second
night of the first. Or second.
A joyous celebration of the lights, and it's a great day in Mobile, Alabama. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I want to announce I believe the 4th annual Christmas by the Creek. It's hosted annually principally by Twin Oaks, Nursing Home, Ball Healthcare, and a laundry list of other nonprofits and entities. My office is working along with the administration, working to assist them as well. That's on December the 9th in the cul-de-sac of Crawford Lane, starting at 3 p.m. And so we want to invite our residents. It's really grown into something quite spectacular. I want to thank Mr. Lawrence King and everyone associated with this effort, for it's really a star in the district's crown to have this. There's so much going on relative to the holidays in District 2 that I could probably spend another hour here talking about it. I won't, but on December 4th,
yes, the menorah
at 6 o'clock,
6:30,
6:30,
I believe.
I'll have the honor of lighting the menorah with my colleague, Councilwoman Bess Rich, and anyone else that would like to participate.
I intend to be there to watch it.
Councilman Richardson will be there. So we will be lighting the menorah on December 4th at Bienville Square. Councilman Davis is going to check his calendar and see if he can make it as well. I want to thank all of my neighborhood association leaders, and we're going to do that on December the 17th at the V Center at 6 o'clock. It's our 4th annual district Christmas leadership social, and we're going to give special recognition to our first responders. I'll begin with Director Barber and Chief Seeley and Chief Batiste to make certain that we have the appropriate names. We appreciate our first responders. We're going to be honoring some of our public service workers to let them know that on behalf of the district, we are appreciative of a year's worth of hard service in District 2. So that again, that'll be December the 17th at 6 o'clock at the Ville Center. All of my colleagues are certainly welcome to join in what will be the best Christmas social in the city, hosted by a council member.
Negative.
Just put that out there.
Well,
Come on.
Negative.
Come on out. I'm coming to all of you alls.
I was going to say,
Make certain that what you do.
of all the district representatives who happen to represent District 2, yours will be the best in District 2.
Be the best in the city of Mobile.
For sure.
Please, don't do me like that, CJ.
Parks and Recreation meeting gonna be?
Upstairs.
Is it now?
I thought we were coming
Well,
back here. I
Are we
thought we
gonna
were
do
coming
this
back here.
session now?
Administration confirmed where the parks are gonna be?
Well, let's,
Where's Miss Irby gonna be?
I thought she was coming here for to our meeting. We were gonna, so we didn't have to ride out elevator.
right. Well, colleagues, let's,
Cross.
Ms. Fowler, can we work on that? While we're having this executive session, then we can come over, then we can meet wherever we need to.
So we didn't. No, come back here.
Okay. Right,
Yeah, we're just
Right.
gonna go across the hall now.
right.
And then they were gonna do the presentation with parks here like we'd finished.
Okay, but we need we need to go through the procedure first.
Yes, we have to hear why we're going.
I am in receipt from our attorney.
And don't you normally would say something at this point.
Well, first, there has to be a motion and a second to go into executive
Is there
session.
a motion?
Executive session.
To discuss an economic development project.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes. We're not reconvening.
Yes, I thought we were getting the.
Wait, hold it.
Reconvening, we're just going to hear this.
Oh, I see. Okay. I misunderstood.
Let me handle it now. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Yes. Go into executive session
Is-
on economic development issue, we will not reconvene.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? No. Madam Council Attorney.
Mr. Britton Bonner, who is the City of Mobile's lawyer that does the negotiation for economic development projects, has a statement to read.
That is correct. I've been retained by the city to represent its interest in the negotiations regarding certain recruitment efforts, and I provided a letter certifying that the discussion to be held in executive session complies with Alabama Code Section 3625A7, and the subject matters to be covered are proper for executive session. I would remind you that in order to move into executive session, you should take a roll call vote announcing that you will or will not come back, which I think you have in your motion, and this discussion should take no more than 15 minutes, depending on how many questions you raise.
Thank you.
Should or shall?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, let's do
Shall.
it.
Shall.
Madam City Clerk?
Vice President Manzi?
Aye.
Councilmember Richardson? Councilmember Small? Councilmember Williams? Councilmember Daves? Councilmember Rich?
Aye.
Councilmember Gregory?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
So we adjourn for 15 minutes?
Yeah.
And I believe
And we'll now return.
and I believe we're going to meet in the room right here, right?
The old pre-conference room.
Up this way.
Don't go this
Now they're gonna leave.
Oh, you didn't